Thank you so much for tuning in and coming back. My name's Clearly Stated, and you are with Vibrating Minds. We are on the subject of the law of attraction emotional scale from the lowest frequency to the highest vibrational frequency we can put ourselves under. And right now I am still at the lowest one. So sorry, I'm jiggling a little bit here trying to get myself comfortable. We're starting with the lowest. So at the lowest frequency, and I did two other videos. One was on fear and one was on grief. Just more or less, just to allow ourselves the time to just really reflect on the whole idea of that frequency, right? And it's okay to be at that frequency. There is nothing wrong with being at the lowest frequency. Okay, let's start there. Well, maybe I should have said that right up from the get-go. But there is nothing wrong with being at that frequency because you are experiencing the human experiment. And you are human and you are here and you're going through the human experiment. So we're learning. We're learning as we go along. And what do we learn from? We learn from our primary environment. And our primary environment, for whatever the universal reasons are, it's a mix and mash of just a whole bunch of mixed up people and a whole bunch of experiments thrown together. It's literally what it is when you think about it, right? Because we all have our roles to play. So I chose my mom and dad, right? And when I think about that now, it kind of blows my mind in a way because I'm thinking, I remember as a child, thinking to myself, because I was the youngest of 7. So I remember thinking to myself as a child, am I like adopted? Because I never felt like I belonged in that household for whatever reason. Well, now, 55 years later, I can sit back and go, okay, that makes sense now because I needed to experience that life, that incredibly wow of life. And I wrote my own story. So with that, I don't really hold anybody accountable. The only thing I hold them accountable for is their role in my life, right? That's the only thing. And with that accountability, then comes the understanding. And when you think about it in my own head, I say to myself, I'm a soul in an earthly body, living a human experiment. So if I'm doing that, then so is everybody in my world. Right? So just understand that everything that is happening because that's how you designed it. And the best part of it all is that while you're here on earth, you have your birthright freedom of choice. So you get to choose your experience. So while you're here and you're going through whatever it is that you're going through, and you don't want to go through that experience, you can change your experience anytime you like. Through diversity, through exceptionally traumatic experiences, through mentally changing situations. It is all a it is all a human experience. So I checked off for a good 6 minutes here. I want to go back to the law of attraction on the emotional scale and touch on that last frequency, just the end part of it, just so I can move on and go to the next one. So we're on the lowest frequency right now, which is fear, grief, despair, and powerlessness. I did a little bit on fear, a little bit on grief. So let's touch on despair and powerlessness. So these are the experiences of feeling like you have zero control. You have no ability to control any aspect of your world. And again, I'm going to go back and say this. You got to understand that this is all without judgment. Okay. You can't pass judgment while you're evaluating the experience. There can't be judgment attached. So remove the judgment attached. So now you're sitting in that despaired experience of, I've got no control. I feel like my back's up against the wall. My hands are tied. I give up. All part of the human experience. Allow yourself to have these emotions. Recognize them. Recognize them for what they are. Give them the time to be who they are. And when you do that, that frequency will wash itself off of you. Why? Because you allowed it. It's time to shine. You allowed it its frequency to be, right? So it's not that there's anything wrong with having these emotions. Fear, grief, despair, powerlessness. There's nothing wrong with these emotions. You have to allow the human experience to go through them in order to elevate your frequency. I hope I'm making sense. I believe I am. So when you take that perspective on fear, grief, despair, and powerlessness, now you're at that frequency and you're like, okay, I get it. Yeah. Okay. You learned whatever it is that you learned within that frequency level. You understood why you were fearful. You understood the amount of grief you had. You understood the loss attached to that grief. When you understand the experiment itself, you elevate to the next level, to the next frequency. But you can also jump frequencies. You can, mush four of them into one and push yourself up further. You can do that. Another option. So I'm going to leave it at that. We're at that 10-minute mark. We'll leave it at that. We'll talk about how we kind of mush everything together based on the experience, right? So we can do that. So yeah, so let's go through until next time. Again, this is Vibrating Minds. You are speaking with Clearly Stated. Until next time, the law of attraction's emotional scale. Have yourself a great day. Take care.